Hi everybody, and welcome once again to another challenge with Scrapbook Spending Freeze 102. I'm Julie, and I just want to say again a big hello to my new subscribers and all the new members in our group. I'm really excited that so many of you want to come on the Spending Freeze journey, and so I've got another fun challenge for you today, and it is a pattern paper challenge. Now, I think most of us have got heaps of pattern papers and we hold on to them for lots of different reasons. I think that one reason sometimes that we hoard a particular paper is because we love both sides and we can't quite commit to which side that we're going to use. So today's challenge is going to be to choose a paper that you love both sides and use both sides on the same layout. So I've got a few examples of how you can do it here to show you first of all. Now, of course, one easy way is just as part of your layering to use both sides. On this page here you can see that I've got this dotted paper as my background and I've gutted that. You can see that the other side is this wood grain and I've used that in my layering here. A similar one is this one here, and although it's actually both the, I guess you call it the A side perhaps, but you can see that I've taken a specific part of that pattern paper and cut it out in order to be able to use it again. So it might be that you do that same technique but with the A and the B side. So for example, on a page like this you might love, for example, this side better, but you really like one or two of the elements here, so you might just cut out that frame or even that circle to use as part of your layering, and either do this sort of technique or just be a bit strategic as to where you put your photos, and you can use them on the other side of your paper. Another fun one that I do quite regularly is this one where I'll cut a pattern paper cut a third of the paper off, so that's 4 inches, 8 inches, and you can see that I've just flipped the paper and I'm using both sides. So of course you can mount it on an entire piece of cardstock if you want, or just use, so I've just got a strip here with tape on both sides. You don't have to finish it off in between, but it does look nice if you do. That's a packaging strip, but of course you could also use washi tape, you could use a border sticker, whatever you like, and then just use that as a background. So that's a really fun one that I do quite often. Sometimes the reason that you hoard a piece of paper is it's like this. It's got a nice pattern on one side, but on the other side it's these sort of journaling and filler type cards. And sometimes you just look at it and see journaling cards, don't want to cut into it, but you might love the pattern. So the best thing to do then, I think, is actually to look, rather than look at this as a whole sheet, to look individually at all the different cards and see which ones that you want to use, and then you can decide how to use the pattern on the back. So for example, you might really go, well, the only one that actually stands out to me that I really love is this Make-A-Wish, in which case you could just gut that and again go back to something a bit more like one of these, and you can just use the outside, or just again be a bit strategic about where you put your photos to cover that hole. On the other hand, you might go, actually I love this, and I love most of these ones, but you're left with a piece like this, in which case that's still plenty of room to use that as a photo mat with the dots. So you get the idea. There's lots of different ways that you can achieve using both sides on the one page. So what I've done is I've just pulled out a couple of papers that I've stored as the pattern paper, but I do like the B side as well. So I'm going to go ahead and make a page, possibly with this photo, using probably one of these papers, and we'll see how we go. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys make, and I hope you'll show us on the group. Rightio, so I've chosen the paper that I want to use and I've chosen my photo, and other than this piece of paper, I think everything I'm using comes from that kit I made back in I think it's episode 2 of Spending Freeze 101. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just doing a little bit of maths. I've decided where I want my photo to sit on the page, and I'm just working out exactly the size of the piece that I'm going to cut out, because I'm going to gut a piece and flip it. I got a bit confused with my maths here because I realized I'd done my calculations in inches, and the ruler on that vertical part of the trimmer actually is in centimeters, but it all worked out in the end. So with this challenge, it might occur to you, it might not, I might be putting this into your head, it might occur to you that this is a fairly frugal thing to do, and that in a spending freeze, being frugal isn't our main goal. Our main goal is to use up product rather than conserve it. And I guess I've got two responses to that. Number one is that the purpose of this challenge is really about just getting over that block, recognizing that we've got a block of being indecisive about which side of the page to use, and therefore using both of them. And the other thing that I would say is that I don't see the two things as being mutually exclusive. I find that even when I'm in a spending freeze, it doesn't really change the way that I scrapbook. I do still want to get good value out of my supplies. If I can see a way to use a paper more than once, and know that I will probably do that, then I'm quite happy to do that, to be a bit conservative with my supplies. It just makes them last longer. I get better value from my money. Don't feel like that's of course how you've got to scrapbook though. I think it's just about you finding your own way and your what works for you. So while I've been chatting, you'll have seen that I used just an old piece of white cardstock to cover the hole in the back, and I've worked out my layers. I'm now working on my title, which ends up being I Told You So. The story behind this page is just about a mountain that we tried to climb when we were down in Tasmania a couple of years ago. It had these big expanses of rock, and there was warnings about perhaps not taking the climb if it was likely to rain. If you know Tasmania, it is a bit of a four seasons in one day kind of place, and it was overcast, and we did sort of, eventually it started to rain. My daughter was getting anxious, my sons were further up the hill. People came down the mountain and said, oh, it is worse up there, it does get quite slippery. Eventually we did turn around. It was quite scary sliding down those rocks, and my daughter actually got a hole in her pants as a result. So it's a few years later, and she still has not forgotten that she told us not to climb the mountain, and we did anyway. So just finishing off now, a bit earlier I showed you some eyelets and things that I've chosen from my challenge item box. I've punched out those green circles, and I've got some wood veneers. I don't show you me setting the eyelets. I think that's one reason I probably stopped using eyelets, was just that bit of extra effort that it takes to set them. But once they're done, I do think they look really good. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you take part in the challenge and show us what you've made. I'll catch you guys soon.